This is a trip distribution example, primarily in the context of the four-step project planning process that starts with trip generation. So what trips are being produced or attracted, where they're being distributed, and that's this step, trip distribution. Then modal split, so which mode of transportation are they going to take? And then finally, trip assignment, so assigning those trips by specific modes distributed to their locations on the actual network. In this example, we're focused specifically, though, on trip distribution. So in this example, we're told to use our knowledge of Centennial Campus. This is the Centennial Campus of North Carolina State University and the surrounding area. Develop an estimate of the trip distribution at each of the four intersections shown, and specifically the approaches shown. This is leaving campus, because this is for a classroom of 100 students that are in the building shown with the NC State logo, and that class ends between 5 and 6 p.m. So really we're focused on trips that are leaving campus at this point. So this is the objective of this process and this assignment. So zooming out a little bit, we've got the building still underneath the NC State logo here, but what we're looking for is to give us some context of what else is going on in this area. And so some of the important things to note, thinking about students leaving this building, a lot of student housing is to the west of campus and to the south of campus. Really, there's a lot in this area as well. So this is a lot of student housing here. So in my opinion, we're going to expect a lot of trips going to the west and to the south. Downtown Raleigh is to the east. There's certainly some attractions there that students may be going to, but I think at this time of day, they're more likely to be going towards student housing type of land uses. And then NC State's main campus is to the north of Centennial Campus. There also may be some trips there as they're going to on-campus housing or other classes or other activities. So we need to put this in the larger context. So if you're not familiar with this area, if you're not from NC State, it may be a little difficult to have some background knowledge of this. So I wanted just to provide a little bit of information here, thinking about where those trips may be headed to at 5 or 6 p.m. leaving campus as this class ends. So it's important to think about that larger context, and hopefully you have an example, if you're not familiar with this area, that you can think of and how the trips may be distributed based on that particular location. So let's work on completing this. I'm going to start with a couple of the easier ones. In this location, main campus at Achievement Drive, there's no right turn. There's either lefts or throughs. So this would be an easy one to start with, that there's going to be no right turns there. At the trip distribution stage, we're not mode specific, so we're not necessarily talking about vehicle trips. These can be any trips. And so I would, in my mind, I was kind of thinking, what are the general areas that I think people will travel? What's the percentage? And this will all be in terms of a percent out of 100 that will be designating these. In reality, if I had more information, I'd want to look at turning movement counts and overall volumes, and as much information I can get about demographics and availability of housing and other developments nearby. But without that, I'm just going to use my general context, knowing that people are going to be traveling a lot to and students to the west. I'm going to assign this western exit onto Avent Ferry Road at Varsity Drive, 40% of the overall volume. And then just as a rough guide, I'm going to put 20% for each of the others, and that's going to give us our 100%. So 20% to the south, 20% to the east, and then 20% to the north. And I think these are relatively reasonable. And again, I would refine these over time, but this would be a first estimate of the percentage of trips, the proportion of trips that I would apply to these various movements. And that's going to give us this bigger picture perspective. I'm also going to go through and start with some percentages I think would be low as well. So coming out of this exit and going left, I think would be kind of an unusual movement. So I'm going to put 2 There's going to be some people that do it, and none of these movements are ever going to be zero, but I think it'd be uncommon for somebody who wants to go west to come out of the east and then turn left. Similarly, at Centennial Parkway, I think the vehicles coming up this way to go right is going to be slim because I think they would go out one of these other exits. So I'm going to put 2 for that one as well. Moving back over to this Blair Drive at Centennial Parkway, there's not much on Dorothea Dix campus. It can be a cut through other places, but I think that's going to be relatively low. So to me, that'd be kind of on the same order. That's going to be a pretty small number there. But then to the right will be the larger portion of that 20%. So I'm going to put 16% there. Again, these aren't necessarily derived from any data. This is just instinctual and intuition. I would like to look at traffic volumes a little more closely, turning movement counts, and try to refine these percentages though. And if I had anonymized cell phone data, that could also really help me understand where these trips may be coming from and going to. I said from the south we were going to have 20%. I think the majority of people are going to be going through on this road to get to housing that's there. So I'm going to put 15% going through and then 5% going left. There are going to be some people that turn left here to go to other destinations this way. To the north, I think the slight majority will be going through and coming to campus. So I'm going to put 10 on that through movement. I also think there will be a lot that are most conveniently coming out of this exit and going left. So I'm going to put 8 there, and that adds up to the 20% total. And then our largest approach from my estimation coming out at Avent Ferry Road, I think the vast majority are going to go left. So I'm going to put 30% going left, 5% through, and 5% right. And this is not necessarily the answer. This is just one approach. This is building based on intuition. I would then refine this based on data, check and see those turning movement counts. If I can have cell phone data or other pieces of information that may help me refine this. But it is helpful, in my opinion, to start with some kind of an estimate that we can then refine with better and more data.